Do 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 do. And just like that, right on the money, we are live for Triple T number 147, 147 of these in a row. Whew, yeah. Who'd have thunk it? My name is TJ Zille. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always preface with or follow up with, or somewhere in there, something like that. I just say, I don't know everything. But I do have a unique way of asking questions and helping people get to the solutions they are looking for. I feel very privileged to help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, relationship challenges, money challenges, and a whole lot of other stuff. I've been around. I've lived 3 lifetimes so far, at least. Ask my mama. Speaking of my mom, we are live on YouTube. So, hi, Mom. And for all of you in YouTube land, please do me a favor and spread the word and click the subscribe, ring the bell, leave a bunch of comments on everybody's comments, including your own, because I like to read the comments. Yes, I do go in occasionally and read them. Let's see what else. Got a new website on the way. It's not up and running yet. It's being built, I've been told. So that's something to look forward to. The website is thetswb.com. thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That is what it stands for. I don't care what you found on the internet. I've been that since '86. Way before internet. So there. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That is your opportunity to spend 30 minutes chit-chatting with me. Let me know what kind of challenges you're up against. And I will do my best to let you know if we are a fit. If we are, I will let you know. If we are not a fit, I will let you know. I don't want to waste your time and money, and I would prefer to get you the help you are looking for as quickly as possible. Well, oh yeah, also offer corporate consulting and corporate trainings. Just ran into a potential for doing a training for an insurance company. Yeah. Teaching them about values and criteria sales versus features and benefits. What else? Oh, it's time to introduce the tie of the week. That's right. This year, every week, I've had a different tie. That's how many ties I own. And once again, got a little poo on my tie. Let's give it up for our favorite Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear. Honeys and bees, he's happy. So, got all that in. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Now it's time to move on to anybody got anything cool, exciting, fun they want to share from the last 7 days since we were here? You'll wait.
I don't know if anybody else is going to pop in. I'll definitely share.
Cool, please.
I am ecstatic to share that I finally started posting on YouTube again. Yay!
Yay!
It took me a very long time, and I even made a video yesterday. And if you're wondering if hell is going to freeze over tonight, the answer is yes, because I actually made a video today, and they are both posted. So I'm very excited. And hopefully I can get in a routine of this, and that would be awesome.
Habits and routines. You get to pick and choose them.
You do get to pick and choose them, much like your tribe. You get to choose your tribe, too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else got anything they would like to share? I got a couple of texts that some people are going to be running a little late tonight. So for those of you that are watching going, thought there were more people. And for those of you in YouTube land, you only get to see the people who have their camera on. I had one friend of mine that watched a couple of videos, and everybody checked out off of their camera for a little bit at the same time. He goes, and there you are, talking to yourself, just talking to yourself, asking questions. I said, yeah, that's happened before. I talk to my squirrels, and anybody who knows me, my squirrels have squirrels who know squirrels. So, if we don't have anything else to share, then let me do a quick rundown on how it works here on Triple T. Oh, Mark, got something?
I just had a great quote I came across last day or two. Wanted to share it with everybody. The price you pay from self-sacrifice is high until you get the bill from regret.
Boop, boop. Absolutely.
The price you pay for self-sacrifice?
Right? Is high. You know, when you have to sacrifice things, get things you want. Until you look at the bill you get from regret from not doing those things. So
A good one.
Yep. Very much so.
that's it.
Cool. Back to the way Triple T works for those of you that are watching the recording for the first time or watching YouTube for the first time. The first hour, I've got 3 topics that I do my best to cover. Second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call gets to ask questions or bring up topics. And then I allow anybody on the call to answer first because I also like to learn. And if there's anything else I feel I can add after everybody's answered, that's when I offer up my 2 centavos. So, with no further ado, here we go. Tonight's topics: more than words, dirty energy, and erased the script. Moving right into more than words. Anybody recognize that title?
I'm going to go with something that's unrelated to words, like nonverbal. It wasn't in their words, it was everywhere else.
You actually might recognize it from a song from back in the day by Extreme. More than words is all you ever need to make it real. And if you pull up the lyrics or listen to the song, it's basically, I'm going to call it a convoluted love song in a way. If you couldn't use words, how would you show your love? More than words is all you ever need to make it real. But I'm going to challenge, it takes more than just the words and the actions. It's also the energies.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We've seen or been around, witnessed enough people. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, well, you want to tell your face that? Just saying. And I brought this up because I've had a few clients, relationship clients now, that are getting these ahas and epiphanies about stuff they've dealt with in the past and realize that they were given a lot of lip service, a lot of words. And they took them for what we call face value without testing, or they were like, they said something and something just didn't feel right. That gut feeling where the energy the energy filter inside is going, no, that no fitty. Nope. And ladies typically have a much better sense of this than men do. Typically. The place where I find it reversed, sadly, ironically, relationships. Because I adore you ladies, but you get, oh, he's so amazing. He says all the right things. And the guys are like, he's a jerk. No, you just don't know him. He's wonderful. And everybody from the outside is going, no. And it's not that they're being negative or anything. It's just you ladies have this wonderful ability to write the entire Hallmark movie. Ah,
It is a gift.
the perfect little house. The perfect picket fence, the 1.7 cars, have fun driving the other one, the cute little pet, apple pie in the window.
In fairness, this is what we were taught.
Yes, I know. He comes riding in on the steed. Hello? It is I, Prince Charming, here to rescue you. When actually he just looked at you and said, yo, babe, you got the looks. Where the guys advance in the more than words is typically in dealing with business. Smells like a rat. Something ain't right here. And for those of you that study face reading, anybody remember what feature we are looking on the face for that tells you may have a little challenge blowing sunshine up somebody's skirt? Anybody? It's these little wrinkles right here on the side of the ear. We have lots of words for them. The easiest one is BS detectors. We'll leave it PG for now. And according to Lillian Bridges, these were developed when you were growing up, you were young, and you had to listen, especially around the house, to see who was having a better day. You had to listen for the energy. If you wanted something, who's in a better mood? The mama or the papa? Or if you're upstairs and you heard, oh, don't think I'm going to go downstairs right now. Think this would be a really good time for me to stay in my room and be very, very quiet. Very quiet, yeah. But when it came time that you really wanted something, you were very quiet and you listened in. And you knew how to talk to the mama and the papa. Sometimes you get caught because you would ask the mama and she would say, nope. You're like, oh, strike one. And you can either choose to stop playing or you go to Papa. What would your mom say? She said, ask you. Oh, did she now? Well, not in so many words, but we didn't even say that part of it. Aw. More than words. One of the funniest ones I saw was Dr. David's daughter came and asked him for something. He goes, no. And don't you go and ask your mom the same thing either. She was like, okay. So she went in the kitchen and asked her mother in a very different way for the same thing, but didn't ask her mom the same thing. And Dave was like, she's either going to be in prison or she's going to run the world. I'm not sure. One of the two. The other part that we're looking for when it's more than words is developing the ability to hear what's being said beyond the words. Especially for those of us that are agents of change, we have to become even better at this than most people. A lot of people don't even realize the story they're hiding inside of their story. And you have to listen very closely, very closely, because they're hiding it's in there somewhere. And you have to go, wait a minute, what was that? What's that little? And sometimes you can tell because they're like, no, that's fine. Nothing. Nope. Nope. No, what is that? What do you mean when you said that? Oh, nothing. Nothing. Which usually means we're counting down to an ab reaction in 5, 4, 3, 2, woo! But if you're properly trained as an agent of change, ab reactions are exactly what we're like, oh, we are getting close now. Change work coming up very soon. And if you've seen people who paid for paper, like those, and that was basically all they did, ab reactions being, whoa, okay, and the scene fades, and you tend to your breathing. You've seen, oh, that was a close one. Okay, good day. I'll see you next week. And nobody gets the change, except for the person who collected the bill and got paid. Any questions, ahas, epiphanies so far? Good, hands are coming up. Holly.
Oh, I guess I'll go first. So it's funny, this actually relates to my question for the second hour too, but I'll get into that in the second hour. I've been doing a deep dive on dark triad personalities this week for some reason, just, recognizing narcissists, sociopaths, and what does it say? My mind just blanked. Anyway, one of the things that I've noticed in story after story after story is how many, especially women, will say, but you don't understand. He knows the right things to say and he treats me so well sometimes. And I just want to scream at the screen and say, yes, that's called the love bombing phase. That's part of what narcissism is. That's exactly like, of course, I understand that's why you stay is because he's love bombing you. I even went back and rewatched the movie Gaslight and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, if you're going through it and you say, yeah, but they say the right thing sometimes, and they even make me feel amazing and they treat me well for a small period, yeah, good. But if it's only for a small period and then they're saying the exact opposite. So I was just looking at somebody who gaslit me once. They said the exact right thing and then the exact wrong thing, and it was this, they were opposite statements. So it was very clear whether I was in the love bombing phase or not. So that's something to consider.
Love bombs, kind of like that bait when you're fishing. And if you're the fish, you got to look at it and go, why is this tasty morsel hanging right here? What's attached? Most people would just bite the bait and the hook gets set and you're in for a fight. Mark. Microphone.
Yeah, a lot of times when people come in, it's called a reporting problem because what they come in for is never a problem. They'll oh, I need to do some anger management. And I'm like, no. I said, because you have somebody at home that says if you don't get a handle on this, you can pack your bags. That's why you're here. So, with a lot, clients come in and there's always a reporting problem. The problem because if they knew what the problem was, maybe they could fix it, but they don't even know what the problem is. So they report what they think the problem is, and it's never the problem.
100%. That's why I like conversational hypnosis, because it's so much, for me, it's so much easier to just converse with them instead of have them come in and go, this is what I would like to work on. And like you say, yeah, we can work on this, but this isn't, the problem's over here. And in chatting with them, that's when this little thing often will accidentally pop up. And you can like, oh, and what about that over there? Nothing. Nope, that's all good. Good. That. And I'm going to throw this out real quick. For those of you who have recently been going through some what the what times and having prolific dreams more than usual, or if you were like me, I've been dreaming since I was born, I think. But lately they've been getting more and more intense and crazy and all that stuff. I've talked to more people, more clients lately who are all reporting that all of a sudden their dreaming has ramped up big time. And they've been like, what the what? Like waking up 2-3 in the morning going, what the was that? And then go back to sleep for around 12 or whichever. So if you're hearing this this was recorded on October 22nd, 2024. Yeah, we got some global energy stuff going on right now. So you're not alone. Any other, excuse me, Any other input, Lenora?
Can you talk about the lines again? Because I don't have those lines. I tend to be tuned in to if somebody's in a good mood or a bad mood, but I don't know if I'm very good at detecting bullshit.
What, did you want to see those again?
I don't know. How do I know? I know I don't have them.
You sure?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
I know I can hear the variation, but I'll know they're not in a good mood or that there's something wrong with their mood. But if they, yeah, maybe I'm getting better at it.
Well, and what
Skill that develops.
you may have is what I call protective empathy, which gets stronger the more you use it. And for those of you that are hearing that for the first time and you're like, arr? Protective empathy is the more you understand that people are not always doing things to you, they're doing them at you. I think last week we were talking about mirrors? And when people are reacting or treating you a certain way, protective empathy allows you to go, wow, that's got nothing to do with me. There's something in there. They're hurting. There's something that they saw in me or that they're reacting to that reminded them of something inside of them that they don't like. And they're lashing out at me because they don't want to deal with what's inside of them. So they're not doing it to you, they're doing it at you. And that understanding, that knowledge protects you from the attack. And the better you get at it, the easier it gets. Holly put in a comment, I'm glad I didn't go through what it takes to get them, but I'd love to find a kinder way to learn the skill. Yeah, there are certain lines. There are certain lines in Chinese face reading that are good to have, like good, strong purpose lines. And then there are certain lines that you don't want to really pay the price for, and that's like these transition lines, these funky ones that go up like that. Yeah. I'm just going to recommend, if you don't have to, don't earn those ones. Learn from other people that have gone through it. It's much easier. Any other comments before we switch to another topic? All right. Dirty energy. Dirty energy. Sounds like it should be an 80s hip hop song. Dirty energy. No, maybe not. And what this is, when I've worked on electronics in the past, and a lot of people think that the electricity, the energy that you're getting in your outlet is just nice, clean energy. And there are tools where you can actually see how clear the energy is. And you would be surprised at the amount of static and noise and junk energy inside of the energy coming out of your outlet, which is really hard on sensitive electronics. That's why oftentimes, especially the ones in the past, you didn't want to run sensitive electronics off of a generator, a gas-powered generator, because the energy coming out of those things was horrible. There's a lot of different filters that you can get, power conditioners, if you've ever heard that phrase, that actually runs the electricity through different capacitors and filters and things like that, so that what comes out is nice, clean energy. Well, I came up with this because one of my clients today, yes, I get a lot of stuff from my client work, and I thought I'd run out of stuff to talk about, who has been dealing with a lot of energy shifts. They'll have a good day, and then they'll have a good week, and then all of a sudden they'll wake up and they've had a crazy dream, and it's just like, and crying, and like, what am I crying about? What is this? And when we went in, they realized that because they are changing their energy, changing their frequency, and working on changing their tribe, they are going through the purging phase. And they realized that they had so much dirty energy not only attached to them, but still being fed to them from people that they had to purge out of their daily lives. And I've warned a lot of my clients that when you're going through this stepping up, I'm going to call it moving up to the next level, there's going to be that part that is going to be lonely. It's going to be the best loneliness you're going to suffer through. Because you're going to have to look at the people that you've been around and ABT. Always be testing, always be testing. And ask yourself, are they lifting me up? Or are they keeping me static? Or are they trying to pull me down to their level? Now, just because you've known them for however long, possibly grew up with them, and possibly in the same house, it doesn't mean that you are required to carry that energy around anymore. It's dirty energy. And it can be challenging to allow you to get to the next level, the next frequency. Now, yeah, I know some of you that are watching for the first time are like, whoa, what's all this woo-woo, this new age, da-da-da-da. Yeah, it can, when you first hear this stuff, even I was like, yeah, that's a little out there. But once you grasp the concept of how it works, it's true enough to be true. If you've ever been in a room and felt that, and you can feel that energy, and then all of a sudden you realize that somebody walked in. You didn't even have to know they were in the building, but they walked in the room, and you knew they were in, you knew there was a shift in the force before they even walked in. That's the energy I'm talking about. I think we've all experienced it at some point in time. Or you're hanging out with your friends, and all of a sudden you feel that energy. Feels like a temperature drop, or like a mild headache just kind of sat on your head, and you realize the bully just found your group of friends and walked up to it from behind you, You didn't have to know that they were there by seeing them. You just knew because of their dirty energy. And we have to learn how to differentiate between what energy belongs to us and what energy is being imposed on us from outside sources. Again, it doesn't matter how long you've known them or if you're related to them. You can have a relative that even the rest of the family is like, yeah, I don't. Bad apple, bad seed. Oh, rest, good. That one, no, not so good. So even though they're family, it doesn't mean you have to let your guard down. You have to take on that energy. That's why oftentimes when somebody will tell me that they have a headache, my first question is it yours or is it somebody else's? And they're like, it's right here. I feel it. It's in my head. But I'm like, take the time, close your eyes, and ask your subconscious, is it yours or is it somebody else's? Because for all you know, somebody that you allowed to tap into your energy may have just stubbed their toe. Or maybe they went out on a bender last night and they're having a horrendous hangover and they're sharing it with you. Because why wouldn't they? You're tapped into their energy. You're tapped into their frequency. Don't believe it's true? Ladies, if you take a large household, especially those of you that have been in college, and you randomly take 10 women and shove them into a household, what happens within a very short amount of time?
They all end up having to go to the bathroom?
At the same time, for the same week, and all their boyfriends are like, bad week at the house. No visit, no. And then they're like, where'd you be? Because I don't need a headache too. And your Midol doesn't help me. But I took care of college rental homes for almost 15 years. And yes, the trash changed. And there was always that first, when they all first moved into the house, I could tell which houses had all girls in because I would get a service call to unplug the sewer. Oh yes, oh my, yes, yes. Yep. That was fun days. That's when they all learned that they can't all flush their stuff at once. In fact, they can't flush their stuff at all. Yes, I know. Look at the topics we have here. Speaking of energy, everybody just had an energy shift just like that. Like, oh. But it was because of entrapped energy. They all could have come in on 10 different ladies, 10 completely spread out times of the month, and within a couple of months, locked in energy. And if there was one of them that had angry, nasty energy all the time, if they weren't careful, the odd one out would get singled out by the group. I watched that one happen a lot too. So understanding dirty energy can also help you out in public when you're trying to enter a crowd or get in with a tribe. Nora, did your hand up?
I know there are some very interesting things that you can do with protection of that energy. But for anybody who's questioning, like, oh, weird, if you look into the book Messages in Water, and you get to see how water responds to different energies, you will be absolutely stunned. And it's unfortunate that our culture makes it seem like it's woo-woo when this was here long before the term, woo-woo or anything like that, I feel like got here. And the stereotypical of like, oh, you're into that stuff. And it's very interesting. And I rather than thinking, and TJ was the one that reframed this for me. For the longest time, I thought I was crazy. And he had mentioned that I am not crazy, which was a huge relief to me, that I happen to be on a different frequency. And that really changed a lot in the world of Lenora very, very quickly, because I started to recognize that I wasn't crazy. They weren't wrong. I wasn't wrong. We were just quite literally on a different frequency. So if you're leaning into this kind of information and you're wondering what it's all about, it's quite literally because you're tuning into this frequency, or else you wouldn't be finding it here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that and for being so transparent with that as well.
Thank you for the reframe. I appreciate it.
Well, I had a conversation with somebody last week and they were like, oh, I'm not into that New Age stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's only been around for like 3,600 years. So it is kind of like that New Age way before Jesus type stuff. But, Mark.
Well, was it Tesla who said that everything in the universe is, energy and vibration? But the squirrel that leapt out before that one was the old joke. Why does it take 10 women with PMS to screw in a light bulb? It just does.
And the smart man goes,
if it's a comfort, it's not all that much fun for you, and it's not necessarily like the best time ever for us. So just adding.
Another thing that popped in my head, if you look up, I've got a radio that was gifted to me a while back, and it is a 5-band radio. And if you look up a classic 5-band radio, for those of us that were born before the age of complete digital everything, when you actually had to turn a knob to bring in a frequency. Imagine now with us talking about frequencies, when you're changing from your favorite station, and in the digital ones, you get scan, and what happens when you scan and there aren't any strong signals? You get silence, but you watch the numbers like, and they just keep going. Well, that wasn't how lucky you were back in the day. Back in the day, you'd get off the station and like, and you'd have all this static, all this annoying static. And then you would almost get this station, but it'd be one of them sucky stations. And then you'd have to keep searching, and you're searching some more static, and it seems like it was taking forever. And if the radio had lost the little tracker to tell you where you're at, even if you knew what station you were looking for, you didn't know where you were on the dial. Now, with a 5-band radio, imagine what it would be like if you're down on this level and you're moving across the frequency, dealing with the static, and you don't find the station you're looking for. You found a couple of stations that came in, and so you would switch to another frequency and go through that one. And you would have to figure out how to get to the higher frequencies. We're kind of in that state now where when you realize that A, there are other channels, B, there are higher frequencies, and then C, there are completely different bandwidths on top of it all, you can see where it can be a challenge, and sometimes you will feel lost and out there by yourself. And sometimes it's very tempting to just go back to the preset of the old channel into the comfort zone where nothing grows, but we're very familiar with it. And one of the things that Bashar talked about was the best thing about out there, that's where all your growth is. But it's scary out there. I don't know what's out there. I know, because that's where all the good stuff is. Lenora.
One thing that Bashar had said, and I liked this idea that he said, and every time he says it, he goes, somebody says, "Oh, I'm worried about the future," and he goes, "Oh, isn't that exciting?" And he goes, "The only thing that you're going to find is more you."
Yes.
And I thought that was really beautiful to really think of, saying, "Oh, well then that's not so scary. I like me." And there was something else that I think, oh, bananas, there's so many things that he says. Okay, come back around. But when you get to notice that it's more you start to really get more curious and more excited about what else you might find. And the thought, I actually, Elijah couldn't be here tonight because he unfortunately is working, and I texted him today, and I said, "Would you say that we're constantly breaking trances and amplifying trances?" And he goes, "Well, I don't need to say it. You just said it." And if you notice that our fear of the future was something that was entrained in us, then we get to look at that and say, okay, do I want to keep this trance? Do I want to keep this train of thought, or do I want to break the trance? Do I want to separate the train or the carts, whatever you'd like to use, and create a new one, amplify a new one? And I thought that was really exciting. And especially if anybody goes back and ever sees the very beginning of these episodes, they'll laugh at how absolutely rip-roaring terrified I was of the future. And it was quite literally because I was entrained to worry. I was entrained of, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if all these bad things happen? Rather than thinking, oh, I'm most likely going to survive, have enough skills, I'm doing pretty good so far. And that was really insightful. Oh, the other thought came back to me.
Scroll.
Ready? Gigi's going to love this one. When you're experiencing or going through what you might call shadow work, or when you're dealing with your fears, it's that the darkness can never touch you because you are equal to it. And I thought that was really, really powerful.
Wow.
I know, right? I'm trying to see fast enough if I wrote this down, which I really did write it down somewhere. I'll have to look at my notes. But I thought that was really super powerful to recognize that that darkness, A, is you, but also it's equal to you. It's not going to harm you. It's not going to hurt you in the idea of death, which I thought, well, that sounds a lot less scary than what it was. Okay, I'm done tangenting. I will check my notes.
And
Yes, I take Bashar notes.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because when you realize the most constant thing in your future, is you. You are the one thing that will be in your future the entire time. Because when you're not in your future, funeral. So you get to decide who you're going to be in the future. And that segues beautifully right into the last topic. Erased the script. And this one came from another client who had let's just say they had a bit of a wild weekend. There was a concert, there was things involved after the concert, and they were sitting in their hot tub with a friend, and when they got out of the hot tub, they totally forgot who they were, everything. The script was erased. They could tell that they were functioning. They were walking up to the house to get something to drink. And in the short distance from the hot tub to the house is when the script was completely erased. And they realized that they saw the Matrix, is how they said it. And they said as soon as they touched the doorknob, the download all came back in. Here's who you are, here's what you're doing, here's what you've been through, here's where you're going, here's all of... And they said it was the most enlightening thing they've ever witnessed, because they looked back at the hot tub and realized it was all hologram. They had basically gone offline off of the program for that short period. And most people would freak out. They'd be like, oh, bad trip. Weird. Woo-woo. They said what it did for them is that they realized that no matter what they believe they're going through, it's just a program. And they get to decide, A, what it means to them, B, what they want to do with the information, and C, what they want to have in the program tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after. And with that, it took so much weight off of them. Because it's one thing to be playing, now we've got all these virtual reality games that you can get. And you got the virtual reality goggles and the deals. And if you really want to play big time, you can go into these places where they literally put a suit on you and all the above, and kind of they've got them now where they put a belt around your hip and you're on almost like a treadmill, and you can move around and all this virtual reality. And my client went, they're playing a virtual reality game inside of virtual reality. How many layers deep can that go? And when I explained to them about dirty energy, it got even more intense, because they were like, oh, if I'm in a simulation and being fed dirty energy, well, no wonder it seems like I'm working so much harder. Lenora, Mike.
It's almost like the program has a virus.
Ba-da-da-da.
And that's why you feel uncomfortable with your own thoughts. That's the misalignment.
Mm-hmm.
Your fancy operating computer.
Yes. And so when you realize that so many people have been putting programs on your hard drive without your consent.
Stay guard at the doorway of your mind.
Yes, think about how we feel about our electronics, our phones, and if some stranger came up and said, hey, let me play with your phone, I want to change the passwords and I want to put these really interesting programs on it for you, and I want to put spyware and I want to put da 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 da, and you'd be like, no. And if somebody told you, well, why don't you write your own system? Why don't you write your own program? How many of us would be like, yeah, I can write a great program to operate my daily life on my computer? And yet we do it every day through words, beliefs, interpretations. It's not what happened to you. It's the story that you attach to it. It's the energy that you attach to it. So many times when I help people with stuff, phobias and things like that, we go back to the event that started it all. And they're like, that was it? But they had, at the time, taken the event, recorded it, and then by telling the stories and reliving and adding meaning to when they relived it and all the above, it morphed into this crippling, heavy thing. And they'd been convinced that they couldn't even handle what was in there, even though they're the ones that put it there, decided what it meant, attached the energy to it, and hid all the lessons inside of it. And so, as agents of change, it's our purpose to get in there and help them understand that it happened one time. No matter how many times you've told the story, it only happened one time. And if there was another way that you could go about handling it where you didn't have to talk about it, where you could deal with it with more than words, how would you go about it? How would you go in and clean up the energy so that it wasn't a burden on the processor, so that it wasn't holding you down? And if you had a chance to go in and look at the script, what if the script accidentally got erased, but you were allowed to reconstruct it any way you wanted it to? What would you do? How would you change it? When would you start? Because right now I have to end the first hour. Which brings us to hour number 2. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. I'm going to recap real quick for people that have just joined in, or if you fast forward or whatever, if you just joined on YouTube. Second hour is where I sit back and let the people on the call ask the questions, bring up the topics, and everybody on the call gets to answer first, because I like to learn as well. And if there's anything I feel that I can add after everybody else has talked, then I will add mine. So, who's got the first question of the night? Jump in quick. Come on, come on. Holly.
All right, I'll go. So as I mentioned, I've been kind of studying a lot about dark triad personalities, the psychopaths, the sociopaths, the narcissists.
Yep.
My question for everybody is, what are your go-to ways to identify these individuals, and whether they're extreme on it or maybe just enough to be dangerous or whatever? And how long does it on average, do you think, take to identify these individuals? And then how do you have healthy boundaries with these individuals once you do identify them?
Ooh, there's a deep question. Who's first one got an answer for Miss Holly?
I feel like this is gonna be like a table toss. Like put your thoughts in on the table. Very specifically for narcissist, what I've noticed, and I'm very intrigued about this dark triad because I don't think I've explored this at all. If you have a really good example of this person that has treated you like this, it's going to be much, much easier to notice, because they're gonna remind you of, oh, so-and-so said it like that. Oh, you know who else did something like that? And it can't not happen because you're constantly getting thrown into your memories. You go in and out of memory somewhere between 5 to 50 times an hour, 15 or 50 times an hour. And they'll remind you, their characteristics will be triggering those memories. So that can be really helpful as a guideline of what to notice, what to look out for. My current thoughts at the moment.
Great answer. Who else has an answer for Miss Holly? Bueller. Well, in our line of work, we deal with this stuff quite a bit, unfortunately. Mainly in the department of unprogramming all the stuff that these dark triads do. The narcissists, the gaslighters, the sociopaths, all of the above. To reference the question that Holly had about, well, how do you recognize them? It's typically study them. Learn who they are, what they do, how they do, why they do, the more knowledge you have, the easier it is to identify them. Unfortunately, a lot of people learn about them the hardest way, by dealing with them one-on-one. The problem with the gaslighters and the narcissists is they typically like to program their subjects to believe that the problem is them. And it's not until the person gets help to realize it wasn't them. And this was what was done to them, that they start to understand how to recognize the narcissists and the gaslighters. Once you study, once you understand what they are, then we go back to the traditional ABT. Always be testing, always be testing. Because there's a lot of them out there, and I'm gonna throw this out there for their benefit only. Some of them were trained without their knowledge and aren't aware of what they do. Those I can cut a little slack for, but there are plenty of them out there that learned how to do it and do it on purpose. Yes, Mark, great book titled Red Flags, to help you detect those individuals. I think my mind is telling me there was one other book that was written, and it was written on how to identify them, but it was written so well that it basically became a how-to book for the people that were looking to learn how to be dark triads.
It was something to do with using it in Christianity. What was he?
Yes, that one. And I've had to study a bunch of it simply so that I knew how to unprogram my clients. And I've had probably almost a dozen people now. I'm going to say 90% guys who have reached out to me who wanted me to teach them this stuff. And I tested them to find out why they were so interested in learning dark triad stuff. And their answers were, oh, wrong answer. No, I don't think I can teach that to you. Yeah, I don't think I've got what you're looking for. I think that's all hocus pocus. Well, I heard it. No, I'm pretty sure that's hocus pocus. That stuff doesn't exist. So go on, learn something better, please. Well, when you've had to help people who have been used and abused by that technology, that information, it'll really torque you off. And I'm keeping it very PG right now. The words I want to say about these people, Mom's listening. I love you, Mom, so I won't say them, but you all know kind of the things that I could say about them. So, Mike.
Hey, so I have written down as kind of a extension to your scroll, trained without their knowledge and or are struggling with inner issues that are reactively moving their actions with or without knowledge, and then consider their own mental maturity and if they are not able to maintain that level in the short term, extending it into the future will only expand and extend their swings. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. Anybody got anything to add to that for Mike? Bueller.
I think a good one also is, what does your intuition tell you? What are you noticing? Especially when you think about the people that you know, especially the people here that you feel good with. And definitely keep testing. And it might take a little while to really develop that trust with them. But listen to your intuition. And if you're getting those hits of, something seems off, I don't know what it is, but something seems off. Because when you, and Elijah's ringing in my brain. If he watches this playback, he's going to laugh. What are you not doing with us? How do you know that it's not happening with us versus how do you know it's happening with them?
Yup. See, Elijah, you don't even have to be here and you're here. But we appreciate having you here. We'd prefer to have you here. One thing that I'm gonna throw in really quick on this, especially for if there are any other agents of change or people that are thinking about getting into this line of work, as Dr. David likes to refer to us as a special kind of stupid. Make sure that you record everything, especially when dealing with clients who have been through stuff with dark triads. Cover your butt, because it's really easy for them to misconstrue what they hear or misconstrue energies or how they feel. And having those recordings, are very vital for both parties. Keeps the practitioner honest, and it protects both parties. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know I've had to go back in the archives and pull up a couple of recordings with a couple of clients, and it wasn't so much dark triad. It was we're just going to call it misunderstandings and wanting more from the package. You said that you would cure me. No, I said that I would do my best to help you. You said that I would get 5 sessions. I said, no, you purchased 5 hours. I charge by the hour, not by the session. Your first session lasted 2 hours. Your second session lasted an hour and a half, and your third section. What? Yeah. I didn't say that. Well, here's the video clip of you saying it. So protect thy assets. with or without the ets. Saying. Holly, did you get your question answered properly?
Great answers. Yes, thank you.
Okay, that means we need another question or topic. So who's got one? Come on, come on, come on. I know people who have books with questions. They are books dedicated to questions. So there, Lenora.
I was trying to find what I had written down about Bashar. And one of the things that he had said is, how does your imagination say you could apply this in a positive way that you would prefer in your life? So for every experience, he's saying to use your imagination. So if something happens, this got canceled or that didn't work out. Okay, so how might it work in my favor? And to think of it that way, using your imagination. And I always think back to the one where Jesus says to be as little children, because he talks about using your imagination, be playful. And one of the things Bashar had said is play with it, let it be moldable like clay. And I thought that was really powerful because when you can start to look at it and think, okay, well, now how else might I get to look at this? We get to continuously, and it might seem like work, but this is the kind of work that I like to do, that I play with my own thoughts and I keep shaping them, thinking, okay, well, how might this work out for me? How might this work out for me? And for other things that quite literally cause me discomfort, and whether you want to call it pain, whether you want to call it discomfort, I can tell you like, oh, I feel it here. It's a sharp pain. I'll go in after it to figure out what it is. Why is it there? And sometimes it is layered, but being able to find it as moldable and movable and alchemize it, I think is something that's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And I don't know if other people feel this. I would love to know your thoughts. The better you feel, quite literally in your body, the better you feel, what does that do for you? I know our culture would be like, oh, it's exercise, it's weight loss, it's da, 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 da. But quite literally, when you feel better in your body, it feels like a completely different body than you had when you weren't feeling good. So what does that do for you? Anybody else notice?
Good question. Who's got an answer?
Thought.
Can you just say it again one more time for my sake?
What do you notice when you're feeling better in your body? Do you find that your thoughts are easier to keep track of? They're not all over the place. Do you find that you're less twirly? And I noticed, yes, my body is definitely one of those access points, but it also depends on where I was working. Because when I was working at another place, I would say I was twirly, where I could too much. Lots of dirty energy all over the place. It was a hot, hot mess. And I really struggled to find balance. When I'm feeling good, or even when anybody else is feeling good in their body, what else do you notice about your thoughts and your emotions?
Mike.
What's interesting with me is that if I start getting too good, then I get anxious and anxiety of trying to maintain it. And then unfortunately the top starts to slow down and it starts to wiggle back and forth. And now I fight to try to keep it up. And it is a losing battle until it eventually exhausts me and I'll fall.
Yeah, and for a while I was there where it was like, what if I can't keep it? It's like, okay, now I'm here. Now try to maintain it. And that felt really, really daunting. And the more I would go back and forth, and then I would stay a little bit longer, I would stay a little bit longer. I was like, okay, well, I'm doing it. So I know that I can do it. Now we want to fine tune it. Whereas I felt like I would get to that point and then I go all the way back down to the bottom rather than realizing I'm making incremental progress forward. that help? In there.
Holly.
Got a few thoughts. We'll throw this around, see where I go. So first of all, I would say my first thought was this is kind of a chicken and egg sort of situation. Because, we have good thoughts, we have a healthier body. We have a healthier body, we have good thoughts. Definitely one of the thoughts that came into my mind is it all comes back to state control. And state control comes back to posture and breathing. So yeah, as soon as I get into that, I'm going to try to keep this. Well, what does the word try even mean anyway? But throwing try, implying failure out to the side. You get anxious and then you stop breathing properly and then you lose your posture and then you lose your state. So that's what's causing you to to maybe miss out on it. But I think a big part of the phase of life that I'm currently in too is also recognizing that to a certain extent, some of this is in our control, but we also need to be able to learn to have this even when our body isn't in the best shape, if that makes sense. Because it's not always, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's very much, I'm exercising, I'm eating right, I'm getting good sleep, the basics. I'm dotting all my I's, I'm crossing all my T's, I'm healthy. But maybe, you went out on a mission to help people in an area of the world and you got infected with gangrene and, you were doing it for the right reasons. It had nothing to do with you taking stupid risks, nothing to do with how well you were taking care of your body. There was just something in your life path that challenged you, that's testing what you're made of. And can you still keep your thoughts pure, your thoughts, at that higher, we've been talking a lot about the rapport, about energy. And there's a bunch of things coming to my mind from that discussion now too. Probably shouldn't get into, my mind just got flooded. But yeah, I think there's a lot going on to say, yes, there's definitely a feedback loop. But, when we're outside that feedback loop, do we still have the power to basically enter it irrespective of what's going on in the physical world, if that makes sense?
Good answer. Mark.
The last time I was at HypnoThoughts, I was trying to master the pillar of power of Rockstar. I was struggling to get my body in alignment from what my instructor or what I was trying to attain. And so when I was but I listened to my body and I tried to come up with a playful avatar. And then I just made up my mind, if I'm gonna, if this is the second time I've tried to master this, but if I'm gonna fail this time, I'm gonna fail magnificently. And then it was like a switch went off and I was able to master that pillar of power of Rockstar.
Awesome.
You have to, if you're gonna fail magnificently. Going to see, but I had to, like I said, I had to get my body, I had to crying and let my body and my mind get in alignment. So listen to my body, stop my mind try to thrust me into something and then when I came into alignment, it would just happen in a second, to the point where people said my whole body language changed. They didn't even recognize me, but I had met earlier that day.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else before I give my 2 cents? Holly.
Can't help myself, sorry. So a couple follow-ups too, and love what Mark just said too. One of the thoughts that just keeps coming into my mind when we were talking about energies that we're at is this idea of, in music, say everybody is at a C. And you want to move up. You want to say, if you're a string, you want to tighten just a little bit. So you want to move up to C sharp. But everybody else is still at a C. We were just talking about everybody around you, they've got that dirty energy. They're trying to pull you down. It's when you're at that C sharp that it's the hardest to hold it. It's for anybody who's tried to sing a C sharp when everybody else is singing C. It is not the best task. It takes training. It takes sitting there. But as you keep going up, eventually you get high enough above it that you're not just right there in that. So I kind of that thought and then the word inertia keeps coming into my mind. So I think a lot of this too is when you're in that transition phase, when you're just barely moving it out, especially if the people around you, and this can also come down to, who do you surround yourself with too, but it tries to pull you back down. And so, yeah, your thoughts when you get, and your body, if you're getting them healthy, but you're just barely above where everybody else around you is, they may try to pull you back down. It's going to be really uncomfortable. But if you can push through and get up to that E or that G or whatever, and maybe that C that's an octave higher, now you're in harmony again, or you're so far away, they're not the gravity isn't pulling you back down again. Then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to stay up there too. So anyway, just that thought of the importance of pushing through the transition. The transition's the hardest part, but once you get up to that new level, it's a lot easier to stay there once you've gotten far enough.
Great metaphor. Awesome. Anybody else? I've got a quick little question. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I'm gonna say something Holly said, bird something that, if you're in an environment and there's somebody with dirty energy or they're a dark triad, a good conductor can have, a 50 orchestra. But if one of the instruments are mistuned or, something is off, he can pick that one individual, that one musician out of the crowd, and because it's not lining up with the rest of the symphony. Maybe that's a way of detecting that dark triad or that dirty energy, is to listen and just find the the individual in the environment that that is not aligning with the rest of the orchestra.
Yep. I got a quick little question for you, Mike. Mike. You said that when you find yourself in this good energy that you're really enjoying, you start to get anxiety that it might be leaving, and you try to hang on to it, like trying to hang on to a fistful of water. If you were to know that it's kind of like, out of curiosity, what's one of your favorite foods?
I do a pretty good salmon.
Salmon?
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody brings you this amazing, perfectly cooked salmon. And you have two ways to look at it. You can look at it and go, this is going to be awesome. There's just a small portion, but it is fabulous. And you can savor each bite, or you can eat it as slow as possible until it gets cold and the butter congeals on it and you've lost the flavor. Or you can eat a portion of it and wrap it up and take it home because you really want to hang on to it. And then you start thinking, well, there's not much left. And in the worrying, you've allowed the salmon to go bad. You had access to the whole piece. And the more you enjoy it, the longer you're allowed to sit at the table. There's no shortage of salmon. There will be days where you have to eat something else. But that's the ebb and flow of life. No offense. If every day was amazing, it would be boring as all get out, and it wouldn't be amazing anymore. Buddy of mine, JP Donnell, gets to go around the planet and speaking with Echelon Front with Jocko Willink. And one thing about Jocko is he is famous worldwide for no matter how bad stuff gets, his answer, good. This didn't show up, we need it, good. Da 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 da, good. He said, and he had one guy come up to him, or he walked up to one guy and he goes, how's it going? He goes, bad day. Yes, I know what you're going to say. He goes, what? Good. He goes, yes. Because every time something challenging or bad happens, good, because it can only last for so long. Good, because there are solutions that you will find. Good, because the more of this you experience, the better you know next time. And we get so afraid of failure or trip-ups or things not going our way because we've been taught that that means, oops, you suck. No, that means, oops, you're human. The only way you fail is if you don't get any lesson out of it whatsoever. You can't find a single thing in it that you can take away that the next time you see something like this happening, you're better prepared. That's the nice thing about brand new oopsies, brand new challenges. As we talked about earlier, what is the one constant in every single challenge? Tomorrow, you'll be there. You're going to be in tomorrow. And you know what you're going to be in the next day after that? The tomorrow after that. You will always be that one constant. People will come, people will go. There will be highlights. There will be that salmon where you're like, ah. And I read a story that was very prophetic. A man lost his wife, and he and his kids, he had to move because when she passed, the house was just, it didn't make any sense for him to stay in the house anymore. And so he and his kids had to go and start cleaning out the house, and the kids wanted to be with him when he had to clean out her stuff to help him. And he said, wow, here's the box of her favorite chocolates that I bought her that she was too afraid to eat because then they'd be gone. Here's that amazing silk shirt that she loved so much that she only wore once because she didn't want it to get frazzled. And he just kept going through and through all of these things that she had that she was too afraid to use, to enjoy. And when she passed, they were still there. So, when good things show up, you can choose to taint them by being afraid that they're not going to last very long. News report, they're not going to last very long. Enjoy them for every single, and you know what? There are times people know that I'm a foodie. when I get good food, I will enjoy that food. I will stuff myself because I can, because I enjoy it. Have I gotten a little smarter at it? Yes, there are times when I can look at it and go, will this be somewhat enjoyable tomorrow? Then am I full enough to where if I eat any more, there won't be enough to make sense to eat it tomorrow? I mean, if I've got one piece of pizza left, tomorrow that's just going to kind of torque me off because it's going to be like, oh, this was so good. I wish I had had like 3 more pieces. If that's the case, I will put that last piece down. I will find a nook or cranny to fit it in because I'm going to enjoy that whole thing. But I'm not going to cry or freak out or get anxious because the pizza was only a medium. Sometimes you get a pizza this flippin' big, you got to rebox it 3 different times so that you can fit it into a fridge. And even then, I will enjoy as much as I can while I can, because for all you know, during the night, the dog could go, Pisha, and sneak its way into your fridge, and all your Pisha's gone. That help?
It does, and it really enlightens me because I am much like the wife in that story, where I have chocolate that I have collected and have not enjoyed, and now it has blossomed. And years ago, I got chocolate nibs from Las Vegas from the chocolate place in the Paris casino, and I was going to make my own chocolate out of it, and now it has soured. So I am learning to embrace the opportunities and to enjoy the luxuries as they appear to me and remember the memories as fondly as I can.
Dude, that's why that story impacted me so much. I wasted so much good stuff. Like you said, this chocolate, best chocolate ever. Oh, I gotta save it for a special day. And then you find it and it's junk. It's shot. That's why I learned I have no problem eating dessert first. And then I've also learned that if the plate shows up and there's something that I don't really like on the plate, if there's 4 different things and there's something I don't really like on the plate, that's what I eat first. Yeah, eat the slimy frog first. Finish on a high note. And I made the mistake only once with a girlfriend of mine who we were eating some of the best fried chicken. And she had pulled off the skin and set it on the corner of the plate. And I had finished my plate. And she was just almost finished with hers. And I reached over and grabbed that little chunk of skin and chucked it in my mouth. Oops! Oops! Oh! Dumb boy! Bad man! No, no! She let me know too. Yeah, that was a cold night. Sometimes you just save that one little morsel for that last bite, and you don't get anxious, you don't antagonize, you don't take away from your happiness, because it's okay if you're even not stuffed. You had some of the best stuff. It's what I like about good sushi. I don't care what y'all, if y'all hate sushi, it's because you ain't tried it, and if you tried it, it's because you went to a bad place. I tell everybody, you got to try all foods, within reason, 3 times. Why 3 times? Because there are bad cooks and there are bad ingredients. And every time this comes up, first thing I ask people, what is your favorite food? Have you ever had it where it was like, yes. And I'm like, if that's the way it was the first 3 times you tried it, would it be your favorite food? Nope. Well, thank God you got lucky. So you try everything at least 3 times. And good sushi, you can end up getting this little plate with just 5 little tasty tasties. And what's it teach you? Put it in and savor every texture, flavor, chew, bite, all the above, because it's an experience. That's one of the things I teach in my hospitality server class. Why do people go to restaurants when we all have microwaves in our domicile, and McDonald's has a drive-through, and Waffle House is cheap? I know some of you up in the north are like, Waffle House? They serve waffles and breakfast 24/7. People go out to eat for the experience. And that's why they spend so much flipping money for the experience. They may go out one night a year, but they want to go somewhere where the food is so good, everybody's like, oh, and you feel special. And if that's all you can afford is one night a year, at least do it one night a year. Fran.
We're just taking the conversation in a completely different direction.
Whee!
And particularly interested in Holly's beautiful perspective. When is it time to let go of people in your life, clients, friends, family, even jobs, even homes? And, you know, Holly has such a generous outlook on everything, as you all do. You know, when is it time to say, that's enough? And how can you do it in a kind way?
Great answer. Holly.
All right, I'll chime in. Really good question, by the way. I've actually been thinking about this a lot today too, so no coincidences. So the first thing I would say is I always want to make sure that it's not a communication problem. So the first thing I say is, do I have boundaries? And did I communicate them well? And also, boundaries are a negotiation. Did I just throw this expectation on them? Or did we discuss it and make sure it's possible that they can understand it? And one of the thoughts that came to me, it was this ad that I saw as a kid that I hadn't thought of in years, where this mom kept telling her kid, don't go in the road, don't go in the road. And then the kid just kept going in the road, going in the road, going in the road. And then finally one day, you know, kid's running out in the road and a car comes, mom freaks out, grabs the kid, pulls it back on the sidewalk and says, I've told you 100 times, don't go in the road. And the little kid looks up at her and says, Mommy, what's a road? And I just kind of had this thought of, you know, are there times in our lives that we've given somebody an expectation of don't go in the road and we didn't even explain what a road is? Or, you know, maybe we asked them to do something that we thought was on a scale of 1 to 10. For us, it would have been a difficulty of 2. But for them, it's a difficulty of 8 because they're wired differently than we are. But maybe there's something that's an 8 that to us that would be a 2 to them. So, like, for instance, if you're in a a romantic relationship and you're, deciding which chores should be done, is it possible we could swap chores so that I'm doing ones that are better suited to me and you're doing ones that are better suited to you? So, a lot of this comes down to, so in every relationship, every good relationship, there need to be boundaries. There need to be clearly communicated, you've crossed a line. And it needs to be independently measurable. And we need to make sure that the other person understands it and is willing to agree to it. Now, if I have someone in my life who there's basically no question that they agreed to this boundary, there's no question that they understand this boundary. And, I will say this too, sometimes it's a pattern. So maybe they said, don't ever be late for dinner. And they got in a car accident and they're late for dinner. That's a one-off. They didn't try to be late. Something unexpected happened. So, is this a pattern or is this a one-off? Are they apologizing to me for it? Or are they just acting like it's no big deal? As soon as I have somebody who's breaking the boundary and saying it's no big deal, and they're doing this on a regular basis, now I'm looking at it's time to cut them out. Now, I will also throw this out there too, though, that sometimes we have relationships that these are the harder ones that have just run their course. Maybe there's a situation of, I love you to death, but you don't want to grow. And you spend all of your time around people who are, also don't want to grow. And it's like, I still want to maybe touch base with you. Maybe every 6 months we'll go out to dinner or something. But this is not the kind of person who's going to push me to be a better version of me. So, we talk about our castle. Who's allowed in the castle? Who's allowed just on the grounds? Who's allowed in, who's allowed to come to dinner with me? Who's allowed to come into the more intimate areas of the castle? There might be somebody that I'm not truly cutting them out, but maybe they used to be in the castle and they're just now grounds people too. That's also a step that may feel like you're cutting them off. And honestly, so basically I will say that the couple things that come into my mind, sometimes you don't even need to communicate it because they're feeling it too. And so if it's just, you're not invited to the intimate dinners anymore, but you're still invited on the castle grounds, sometimes they feel the same way about you and it will just naturally happen. But the thing that always comes to my mind is Matthew Hussey once said, I'll never forget it, be sweet in your tone, be ruthless with your actions. And what too many people want to do is they want to be ruthless in their tone, but sweet in their actions. So it's the, you've driven drunk with my kid in your car and you knew that was not okay. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to tell you it's the worst thing you ever did. I'm going to tell you you're never taking my kid in your car again. But next time you ask to take my kid in your car, I'm going to let it happen. So now I've been ruthless in my tone. I yelled and yelled and yelled, but I was very soft or sweet with my actions. Where the reverse is, okay, you took my car, you drove drunk. Like that might not even be one that you have to communicate. That might be such a no-no that like you should have known that. I'm not going to get up all in your face, but you will take my kid in your car again over my dead body. It's not ever, ever going to happen. So, I mean, I could probably go on and on and on on this, but those are my 2 cents. I'll let Mark talk.
That's so brilliant. Thank you, Holly. That was wonderful.
And I was just going to say, apparently Holly read my notes because, so good. Because I was like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, well, I was going to say that. Oh, and I was going to say that. So great answers. Mark.
First of all, Holly, again, when you drop a pearl, you see everybody grab their pen and start writing down what you just said. That speaks to, they said, why we're in this tribe, to hear the insights of others. But when a client, tells me, yeah, I think I think I've gotten everything I need, and friend, that's a win for me. that they, they're ready to leave the nest. And, when they tell me that, that, yeah, I think we're good. I think I'm good. And, I see that as a win, take it as a win because they got what they needed. And, now they can, they might come back, sometimes, client called me out of the blue this week or texted me and said, "Hey, I want to do a session," and I was like, "Okay," and sometimes they need to come back for a tune-up, and that's fine. You you can NLP them and say, things will come up. What thing? And but feel free to reach out. So when something does come up, when they go, when they do a search, a transderivational search. Who can I talk to about? Oh, okay, Mark. I can pick up the phone and call him. But like I said, when the treatment has run its course, that's a win. I always see that as a win.
Great answer as well. And being the two of you took all the stuff I was going to say before anybody else beats me to it, there's a quote from Tupac, of all people, and great quote. "Just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I don't wish you any harm. You're just not allowed to eat at my table anymore." Sometimes and that comes with ABT, that's why my clients, I keep telling them that you have to have a tribe journal, a journal about your tribe, so that you can continue to grow. And as you continue to grow, there will be some people that don't fit into the new tribe. And we all have multiple tribes. You got your work tribe, your church tribe, your family tribe, your classmates tribe, your neighbor tribe, our triple T tribe. But as you're trying to cull down into a new tribe, there will be certain people that you're going to have to release from the table. Excuse me. And that's where I agree with the way Tupac said it, that, I don't wish you any harm or any bad. I just don't have space for you at my table anymore. Lenora.
Gesundheit. When it comes to that, what I noticed is if I can give it to the universe, and I often think the universe will do for me what I cannot do for myself. And that has been occurring in my life still more recently, but that one really came at a point in my life where I didn't know what I was going to do at this particular job. And I knew I wanted to do something else, but the person that I was very close with, I was extraordinarily close with. And there was no way that I was going to leave. And it was my first job and I was incredibly young. And I remember walking in thinking, or talking with the universe is very, very at the very, very beginning of this fun journey of personal growth, and thinking like, I don't know what's going to happen, but just put it out there. I hope for the best. And unfortunately, it happened in one of the worst ways that I could have ever imagined. And fortunately, it was the exact thing that I needed to get me out of there, because I would have never left it any other way. So if you think, I surrender, I'm giving it to you. If this is not the direction I should be going, you get to take it. I don't know. I did step away. I apologize if I'm repeating something of what Holly had shared. And Louise Hay had said, everything is working out for your highest good. And I actually heard a clip of her recently. And the way that she would say it was very angelic, it was very kind. And the clip that I saw her say this in, she had said, I would just ramble my mouth when I was so anxious. Everything's working out for my highest good. Everything's working out for my highest good. And this was what she would say on repeat to get herself to calm down, which I thought was something really interesting because I never really saw her have that kind of vulnerability. I always had seen her with this incredible level of certainty. So I also like that I know I mentioned the Court of Atonement, which I know you love so much.
Great answer. Thank you for sharing that. Another thing I want to add on this is when you are cleaning up this tribe list, make sure that you also clean up the energy connections. That was the part that I was talking about earlier tonight about dirty energy. My client had to let go of some friends, including an elementary school friend. That's how long they've known each other. But they realized that at this point in their life, that friend was so negative that they simply needed to let them go. And over the weekend with the reset and everything, and they realized that they had this heaviness, and when we went in and checked it, it was past boyfriends that they'd let go of, past friends they'd let go of, past relationships, all this stuff that they had walked away from, but there was still the energetic connections to them that they had to release. And when we did that, woo, things got lighter and all sorts of fun stuff. So, Fran.
Well, I want to throw this aspect out again, and particularly throw it to Holly first. How is a way to deal with ghosting in this context of what we're talking about, letting go of people? If you've been ghosted by somebody, they just won't communicate, you don't know why. How do you handle that and everybody else's comments?
Okay, Holly.
Dive in. This is one that gets me a lot because it's easier to say sometimes than it is to do. A lot of what ghosting does for people is it gives us a pathological need for closure. And so I watch a lot of these shows that are, what's it called? Anyway, they'll have like a radio show reach out to somebody and figure out why they ghosted them kind of situation.
The catfish.
And one, no, I tried to remember what they call it. It has a name. A lot of shows do it. It's a segment that they do. But one of the things, and because one of the things that came out is also that men and women tend to have different needs for closure. A lot of times men will just be like, why do you even need this closure? And I was watching Steve Harvey did a thing where he had men and women and they were asking questions, and all the women said, I want closure. I want you to tell me why you broke up with me. And all the men said, because he had like a multiple choice or whatever, the majority of men said, why do you need closure? You know why it happened. And the first thing that I thought is like, actually, no, I don't. I have this list of like 30 things it could be, and it's probably only one of them, or maybe it's something that's not even on the list, but because you didn't give me the closure, now I'm going through the list of all 30, assuming all 30 are true. I'm second guessing everything I ever did. But the interesting thing is when they actually get the closure, in about 90% of cases, it was just the person who ghosted you was a jerk, and you're better off without them in your life anyway. So a lot of that's got to be, I think one of the things is, and like I said, I don't know if this is different for men and women, but one thing is having people in your tribe that you trust to give you honest feedback that you could go to and say, hey, is there something that you saw from an external thing that I need to work on? because there are times that there's something we need to work on. You know, we do want to go into the next situation and do better. But get that from the honest people in your tribe that have earned the right to be there, not from the jerk who just ghosted you. And then the other half is recognizing, hey, if they're the kind of person who's gonna ghost me, if I know nothing else about them other than the fact that they ghosted me, and somebody did point out, you know, there are times like if you are genuinely afraid for your safety or something, it's probably okay to ghost somebody. So there might be exceptions. But most of the time, if somebody ghosted you, that alone tells you that they probably didn't deserve to be in your tribe anyway. Yep. And so just leaning into that.
I've had this discussion with many women. No offense, but I don't understand why they ghosted me. I said, well, does part of it torque you off? Keeping it PG. Yes. Then why do you want them back? I don't understand why that burrito gave me really bad acid reflux. Well, why do you want to eat it again? Because I want to know why it happened. Because it was a bad burrito. Let it go. The other part that'll help you is what we discussed earlier is protective empathy. Understanding that, hey, you know, they're human, there's something that they might be going through or something. It wasn't about me, or it wasn't at me, it was to me. It wasn't done at me, it was, or to me, it was done at me. I just happened to be there for the ride. And sometimes you just have to ABT and look at the card that they are, and if they're a 5 or under, next. Wish them well, love and light, and wave them beyond the horizon. Holly.
I keep having final thoughts afterwards. One other thing too that I'll add, loving everything TJ's saying too. But one thing I'll also add is a lot of times how easily we could get over ghosting, and it's always, you know, a punch in the gut, no matter when it happens, no matter who it is. But it also comes down to how many other people we have of sources for our self-worth. And this gets back to the love bombing narcissist kind of discussion we were having before. That's why a narcissist loves to cut you off from everybody. They're your only source of validation. And then when they ghost you, they can send you through a tailspin because you didn't believe you were worthy. Then they love bombed you and suddenly you believed you were worthy. Then they took it back and ghosted you. And now you believe you're not worthy again because you put your worthiness, your self-worth in their hands. Whereas if you have, you know, and this could be a friend, a coworker, whatever, if you have tons of coworkers who love you and one who ghosts you, it's going to be very different than if you only ever talk to one coworker. If you have tons of friends who love you and one ghosts you, it's going to be a very different experience than if you only have one friend in the entire world and then they ghosted you. So just making sure that we're not, and also, you know, how much self-love you have obviously is going to play into that too. Are you internally worthy, or do you need to get that from other people? Because a lot of times we take that as, oh, yep, I'm not good enough. So, or is it, no, actually, they're just a little bit crazy. I know I have worth and I don't need them. I don't need them in my life to like me for me to like myself.
And sadly, we are out of time. But before we bounce, I'm gonna throw this out there as well. Understand that not all narcissism is bad. We all have a level of narcissism. We need it for our self-worth. It's okay to believe that you are good. It is okay to believe you are worthy. It is okay to have those feelings. And part of that, I believe, we question that when somebody ghosts us. Well, why did this happen to me? And what am I short on? And what am I missing? And, what did I do or what did I didn't do? And da 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 da. And at some point, you're allowed to do a little self-narcissism and go, you know what? I'm good enough. I am a good person. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. Their loss. I wish them love and light. Adios to your wherever you are, to whatever you feel is better than me. And I hope that indeed they are. Because now they've just opened up another seat at the table that can be held by somebody that you would prefer to have there. And there's a big world out there. You are one event away from a completely different life. One hello away. And so maybe that goodbye is what it took to open that seat for the person that you're like, I can't believe I was worried about them. They're a 5. This one's a 10. Wow. Okay. But we are over time, as we can be, because we get on a good roll. So bring these questions, these things back for next week so that we can fill up the second hour again. I love it when second hour rolls over because that means we're like, oh, good stuff. Speaking of next week, until then, thank you for your precious gift of time, for offering it up on this platform. Take care of yourself. Go out into the world. Live life the best way you know how, and then raise it up another notch because you're worth it. If you need help, reach out to any of us. We'll let you know because I adore y'all. I'll be there for you. I got your back. Love you big time, long time, and all the good times. And look forward to seeing your smiling faces next week. Till then, bye.
And all.